Commander Zephyx stood in the observation deck of the Harmonic Dawn, staring at the sensor display with growing confusion. The readings made no sense. Something enormous had just entered their monitored region of space, but the computer kept rejecting the data as impossible. "Run the scan again," Zephyx ordered. His four hands moved across the control panel with practiced efficiency. The Vrelnathi were known throughout the Galactic Council as the best sensor operators in known space. If their equipment showed errors, something was very wrong. The junior technician, a young Vrelnathi named Korthal, looked up from his station. "Commander, I have run the scan 17 times. The results are identical. The object measures 15 kilometers in length." Zephyx felt his secondary hearts skip a beat. 15 kilometers. The largest warship in the Galactic Council fleet measured barely 1 kilometer. Even the ancient dreadnoughts from the old wars never exceeded 2 kilometers. This was beyond anything in their historical records. "What else? Can you tell me?" Zephyx asked, keeping his voice calm despite the rising concern in his chest. Korthal tapped several commands into his console. "The object is definitely artificial. It has a power signature unlike anything in our database. The energy output is enormous. If I am reading this correctly, it generates more power than our entire station." "That cannot be right," Zephyx said. But even as he spoke, he knew Korthal was not wrong. The young technician was nervous, not incompetent. Zephyx opened a communication channel to the Council Station Celestial Harmony. "This is Commander Zephyx of the Harmonic Dawn. I need to speak with Ambassador Kelthera immediately. We have a situation." The response came within seconds. Ambassador Kelthera's face appeared on the screen. She was a Salanthi, a species known for their diplomatic skills and calm demeanor. Her silver skin reflected the light from her office, and her large eyes studied Zephyx with concern. "Commander, what is the nature of this situation?" Kelthera asked. "We have detected an unknown vessel entering Council space. It is massive, Ambassador, larger than anything we have ever encountered. I recommend we activate first contact protocols immediately." Kelthera was silent for a moment. The Galactic Council had maintained peace for 3,000 years. Every species in their region of space was accounted for. New civilizations were rare, and they always announced themselves before entering Council territory. This was unprecedented. "Send me all the data you have," Kelthera said finally. "I will convene an emergency council session. In the meantime, do not approach the vessel. Observe only." "Understood, Ambassador." Zephyx watched as Korthal transmitted the sensor data to Celestial Harmony. Within minutes, his communication panel lit up with incoming calls from other council vessels in the area. Word was spreading quickly. 43 ships were now converging on the location, forming a defensive perimeter around the unknown object. "Commander," Korthal said, his voice tight with tension. "I'm getting more detailed scans now. The vessel is definitely a warship. I am detecting multiple weapon systems, many different types. The firepower readings are off the scale." Zephyx moved to stand beside Korthal's station. He examined the data himself, hoping to find an error in the calculations. There was none. The unknown vessel carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Its armor appeared to be some kind of advanced alloy they could not identify. Its shields, if they were active, were generating power levels that seemed almost impossible. "This is a dreadnought," Zephyx whispered. "But who would build such a thing?" On Celestial Harmony, Ambassador Kelthera stood before the emergency council session. 7 species were represented, each leader appearing via holographic projection. The mood in the chamber was tense. Council, Member Tharn of the Korgathi species was the first to speak. The Korgathi were warriors, a proud people who valued strength above all else. Tharn's muscular frame and scarred face reflected generations of martial tradition. "This is a threat," Tharn declared. "We should strike first, before this vessel can attack us. We have numbers on our side." "We do not even know who they are," Kelthera countered. "We cannot attack a vessel that has made no hostile moves." "Their very presence is hostile," Tharn argued. "No peaceful species builds a warship of that size." Science Director Myra, a Quellan known for her analytical mind, projected a series of calculations into the center of the chamber. I have reviewed Commander Zefix's data. If we engage this vessel in combat, our projected casualties would be catastrophic. Even with 43 ships, we would be outmatched. This vessel's weapons are specifically designed to fight multiple targets simultaneously. The council chamber fell silent. The implications were clear. They were facing something far beyond their military capabilities. We should attempt communication, Kelthera said. Send a standard first contact greeting. Offer peaceful intentions. We must try diplomacy before we consider any other options. The council voted, 7-1 in favor of communication. Only Tharn voted against it. Kelthera composed the message carefully. It was transmitted in 47 different languages, covering every known form of communication in their region of space. The message was simple. Greetings from the Galactic Council, an offer of peaceful contact, and a request for identification. For 7 long minutes there was no response. Then the communication systems across the entire fleet activated simultaneously. The unknown vessel was responding, and its signal was powerful enough to reach every ship at once. The translation matrix struggled for a few seconds before locking onto the language patterns. When the words finally came through, they were clear and measured. This is Captain Daniel Harris of the human vessel Titan's Reach, representing the Earth Defense Coalition. We come in peace and request permission to open diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. We apologize for any alarm our arrival may have caused. Please advise on proper first contact procedures. Kelthera stared at the message in disbelief. Humans. Earth. These were names she had never heard before. How was it possible that an entire civilization had developed to this level of technology without the Council's knowledge? Respond, Kelthera ordered her communication officer. Tell them we welcome peaceful contact. Invite them to send a diplomatic shuttle to our station. Assure them they will be safe. As the message was transmitted, Kelthera felt a mixture of curiosity and fear. The humans had built a warship capable of destroying their entire fleet, yet they spoke of peace. They had the power to take whatever they wanted, yet they asked for permission. What kind of species were these humans? And what had driven them to build such devastating weapons? Commander Zefix watched from the harmonic dawn as the human vessel adjusted its position. It moved with surprising grace for something so massive. The ship maintained a respectful distance from the Council fleet, its weapons remaining unpowered. Every action suggested restraint and caution. They are being careful not to appear threatening, Korthal observed, despite their obvious superiority. Zefix nodded slowly. Yes, they know how powerful they are. They know we are afraid, and they are trying to make us feel safe. Do you think it will work? Korthal asked. Zefix looked at the massive warship on his display. 15 kilometers of advanced technology and devastating firepower, hovering in space like a sleeping titan. I do not know, he admitted. But I hope so. Because if these humans decide to become enemies, there is nothing we can do to stop them. The Council fleet maintained its defensive formation, watching and waiting. First contact had been made. Now came the difficult part, learning to trust beings who could destroy them all with ease. Captain Daniel Harris stood on the command bridge of Titan's Reach, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the view screen. The alien fleet had formed a defensive sphere around his ship, 43 vessels arranged in a pattern that suggested military training and coordination. They were afraid. He could see it in their formation, in the way they kept their weapons charged but not locked on target. He understood their fear. Titan's Reach was built to inspire exactly this reaction. Status report, Harris said, his voice calm and measured. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Morgan looked up from her station. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and quick reflexes, someone Harris had trusted with his life for the past 8 years. They had served together since the Mars Rebellion, back when humanity was still learning how to fight wars in space. All systems nominal, Captain, Morgan reported. The alien fleet is maintaining distance, no hostile targeting detected. They sent a response to our message. They are inviting us to send a diplomatic shuttle to their station. Harris nodded. This was good news. The aliens were willing to talk. That meant they were rational. capable of seeing beyond the immediate threat his ship represented. "How long until we can prepare a shuttle?" Harris asked. 2 hours, sir. We need time to analyze their station's atmosphere and docking procedures. Dr. Carter is already working on it. Harris walked across the bridge to the tactical station where Commander Jake Phillips was reviewing combat data. Phillips was a stocky man with a scarred jawline, a veteran of the Outer Colony Wars. He understood warfare better than anyone Harris had ever met. "Your assessment, Commander?" Harris asked quietly. Phillips glanced at the alien fleet formation on his display. "If it came to a fight, we would win easily. Their ships are using outdated shield technology. Our railguns would punch through their defenses in seconds. Their weapons appear to be plasma-based, possibly laser arrays. Strong against unshielded targets, but our neutronium armor would absorb most of the damage." "I did not ask if we could win," Harris said. "I asked for your assessment." Phillips met his captain's eyes. "They are scared, sir. Really scared. They positioned their ships in a defensive formation, but they are keeping enough distance to run if needed. They want to talk because they know fighting would be suicide." Harris felt a weight settle in his chest. This was the burden humanity had created for itself. Titan's reach was meant to be a shield, a deterrent against threats. But to species who had never encountered humanity before, it looked like a sword ready to fall. "Then we make sure they understand we are not their enemy," Harris said firmly. "We came here to make friends, not to conquer." Morgan called out from her station. "Captain, we are receiving a more detailed message from the alien station. They are providing docking coordinates and requesting information about our atmospheric requirements. They are also asking about our species designation and home system location. Send them standard first contact data," Harris ordered. "Biological information, cultural overview, and our home system coordinates. Make sure they understand we are carbon-based and oxygen-breathing. We want to avoid any environmental mistakes." As Morgan worked on compiling the data package, Harris thought about the journey that had brought them here. 2 years of faster-than-light travel, following probe data that suggested intelligent life in this region of space. 2 years of hoping they would finally find others like themselves, other species who had reached for the stars. Humanity had been alone for so long. The first contact attempt over a century ago had ended in disaster. Raiders from an unknown species had destroyed the colony on Proxima Centauri, killing 15,000 people before humanity even knew a threat existed. That tragedy had shaped everything that came after. Earth had united under a single purpose: never be helpless again. The Earth Defense Coalition was formed. Resources were pooled. Technology advanced at an unprecedented rate. Humanity built weapons and defenses designed to fight enemies they had never met, preparing for threats that might never come. Titan's reach was the ultimate result of that fear and determination. 15 kilometers of cutting-edge military technology, crewed by 8,000 of Earth's finest personnel. It carried fusion torpedoes capable of destroying capital ships in single strikes, railgun batteries that could fire solid projectiles at relativistic speeds, plasma lance arrays that could cut through armor like paper, and experimental quantum disruption weapons that could disable entire fleets by collapsing their power cores. It was overkill. Harris knew that. Everyone who served aboard Titan's Reach knew that. But after Proxima Centauri, humanity refused to take chances. "Dr. Carter is ready to brief you on the alien response," Morgan said, interrupting Harris's thoughts. A holographic display activated, showing Dr. Helen Carter in the ship's xenolinguistics lab. She was a middle-aged woman with gray hair and a warm smile, someone who genuinely loved learning about other cultures. "Captain, I have analyzed the alien messages," Carter began. "The primary contact is someone called Ambassador Kelthera, representing something called the Galactic Council. It appears to be a coalition of 7 different species. They use a sophisticated translation matrix that adapted to our language within minutes. Very impressive technology." "What is your impression of their intentions?" Harris asked. "They are cautious but genuinely interested in peaceful contact," Carter replied. "Their language patterns suggest diplomatic training. They are using formal protocols, probably the same ones they use with all new species. I detect no deception in their messages." "Good. Prepare a cultural briefing for the away team. I want them to understand basic diplomatic conventions before we meet face to face. Already working on it, sir. Harris turned to Morgan. You will accompany me to the alien station, along with Dr. Carter. Commander Phillips, you have the bridge while we are gone. Phillips nodded. Understood, sir. What are my orders if things go wrong? If we do not return within 12 hours, you are authorized to use whatever force necessary to ensure the safety of this ship and crew. But do not start a war, Jake. If something happens to us, I want you to retreat and report back to Earth. Yes, sir. Harris looked out at the alien fleet on the view screen. 43 ships, representing species humanity had never encountered. This was the moment they had prepared for, hoped for, and feared. First contact with an advanced galactic civilization. Commander Morgan, begin preparations for the diplomatic mission, Harris ordered. We launch in 2 hours. And Morgan? Yes, sir. Make sure the shuttle is unarmed and that we are clearly not carrying weapons. I want the aliens to see that we trust them enough to come defenseless. Morgan raised an eyebrow. That is a significant risk, Captain. Yes, it is, Harris agreed. But if we arrive armed and armored, we confirm their worst fears about us. We need to show them that humans can be more than our weapons. As the crew prepared for the diplomatic mission, Harris returned to his ready room. He sat at his desk and opened a secure channel to Earth. The message would take weeks to arrive, but command needed to know what was happening. This is Captain Daniel Harris of Titan's Reach. We have made first contact with an alien coalition called the Galactic Council. They appear peaceful and have invited diplomatic talks. I am proceeding with first contact protocols. Whatever happens, here will define humanity's relationship with the rest of the galaxy. I hope we are ready for that responsibility. He ended the transmission and stood up. Through the window of his ready room, he could see the curve of Titan's Reach's hull stretching into the distance. A 15-kilometer Titan, built from humanity's fear and determination. Now it was time to prove that humans could be more than their trauma, more than their weapons. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity truly stood for. Ambassador Kelthera stood in the Council's main conference chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing military projections. The numbers were not encouraging. Science Director Myra had run 300 different combat simulations, and humanity's Titan ship won every single scenario. The projections are clear, Myra said, her voice steady despite the grim data. If the human vessel attacks, our combined fleet would be destroyed in approximately 4 minutes. Their weapons technology is generations ahead of ours. Their shields alone generate more power than our entire station. Council member Tharn slammed his fist against the table. Then we must strike first while we still have the element of surprise. 43 ships attacking simultaneously might overwhelm their defenses. Might, Kelthera repeated, emphasizing the word. Or it might provoke exactly the war we are trying to avoid. The humans have shown no aggression. They asked for permission to talk. That is not the behavior of conquerors. They built a dreadnought capable of destroying star systems, Tharn argued. That is not the behavior of peaceful explorers. Myra projected another set of data into the center of the chamber. I have analyzed their weapon configurations. Every system they carry is designed for ship-to-ship combat. Railguns for penetrating heavy armor, fusion torpedoes for destroying capital ships, plasma lances for disabling multiple targets. Even their experimental quantum weapons appear focused on military vessels. What is your point? Tharn asked. They did not build weapons to destroy planets or colonies, Myra explained. They built weapons to fight other warships. This suggests they have experience with space warfare. They have fought before, probably against enemies similar to our own fleet composition. Kelthera absorbed this information. The humans had fought wars in space. They had learned lessons from those conflicts, lessons that drove them to build ever more powerful weapons. But against whom and why? A young voice spoke from the back of the chamber. May I offer some insight? Everyone turned to look at Priya Gupta. She was human, though not from Earth. Priya came from a colony world called New Mumbai, discovered by the Council only 3 years ago. Her people had been isolated for generations after a colony ship went off course. They had developed independently, never knowing about Earth or the greater human civilization. Speak, Kelthera said gently. Priya stepped forward, clearly nervous but determined. I have been researching Earth's history since we discovered Titan's Reach. My people maintained historical records from before we were separated. I know the story of Proxima Centauri. What happened there? Kelthera asked. Over a century ago, humans established their first interstellar colony at Proxima Centauri. It was a peaceful settlement, dedicated to scientific research and agriculture. They had minimal defenses because they did not expect threats. Priya's voice grew quieter. Then raiders attacked, an unknown species never identified. They destroyed the colony completely. 15,000 people died. Earth did not even know about the attack until it was over. The chamber fell silent. After Proxima, Priya continued, humanity changed. They united under a single government focused on defense. They built weapons and trained soldiers. They prepared for enemies they had never met, because they learned that the universe was dangerous and being unprepared meant death. So they became warriors. Tharn said, though his tone was less aggressive now. They became survivors, Priya corrected. There is a difference. Warriors seek battle. Survivors prepare for it while hoping it never comes. Titan's Reach is a survivor's ship. It is powerful because humans never want to feel helpless again. Kelthera felt a shift in her understanding. The massive warship was not a weapon of conquest. It was a shield, built by a traumatized species who had learned the cost of vulnerability. Humans had faced the darkness of a hostile universe and responded by building walls strong enough to keep it out. They are like us, Kelthera said softly. They fear what they do not know. They protect what they love. They simply have more powerful tools to do it with. Tharn stood up, his massive frame towering over the other council members. If what this young human says is true, then we face a different problem. These humans have been preparing for war for over a century. They have refined their weapons and tactics against unknown enemies. They are experienced, disciplined, and overwhelming in their military capacity. He paused. And they are asking to be our friends. You see the opportunity, Kelthera said. I see the necessity, Tharn corrected. We have enemies beyond our borders. The Drokan hegemony has been probing our defenses for years. They grow bolder with each passing season. We lack the strength to resist a full invasion. But humans, he gestured at the display showing Titan's Reach. Humans have exactly the kind of strength we need. You are suggesting an alliance, Mira said thoughtfully. I am suggesting we be honest, Tharn replied. The humans asked for peaceful contact. We should give them what they want. But we should also tell them about the threats we face. If they truly seek friends, they will understand our fears. If they seek to conquer, they would not have asked permission to talk in the first place. Kelthera considered this carefully. The Korgothi warrior was right. Humanity had the power to take whatever they wanted, yet they chose diplomacy. That choice revealed character. It showed restraint, wisdom, and perhaps a genuine desire for peace. Very well, Kelthera decided. We will meet with the human delegation. We will be honest about our situation, and we will see if humans and the Galactic Council can find common ground. 3 hours later, Kelthera stood in the docking bay of Celestial Harmony, watching as the human shuttle approached. It was a small craft, sleek and efficient. Scanner reports confirmed it was unarmed. The humans were coming defenseless into a station surrounded by 43 warships. That took either remarkable courage or profound trust, perhaps both. The shuttle landed smoothly. The docking ramp extended. Kelthera felt her hearts beating faster as the airlock door opened. 3 humans emerged. The first was a tall man in a dark blue uniform with golden insignia on his shoulders. His hair was gray at the temples, and his eyes held the weariness of someone who had seen too much conflict. This had to be Captain Harris. Beside him walked a woman with sharp features and alert posture, clearly military trained. And behind them came an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes, carrying what appeared to be data storage devices. Captain Harris approached Kelthera with measured steps. He stopped at a respectful distance and performed a formal gesture, placing his right hand over his heart and bowing his head slightly. Ambassador Kelthera, Harris said in careful, measured tones. On behalf of humanity and the Earth Defense Coalition, I thank you for receiving us. We come in peace and friendship. Kelthera returned the gesture in the Silanthi manner, extending her hands palm up in a sign of openness. Captain Harris, you and your companions are welcome here. I am Ambassador Kelthera of the Galactic Council. We are honored to make first contact with your species. She gestured toward the conference chamber. Please follow me. We have much to discuss. As they walked through the station corridors, Kelthera noticed how Harris observed everything with a tactical eye. He was noting exit routes, security positions, and structural weak points, but he did it subtly without drawing attention. This was someone trained for combat who had learned to operate in peaceful settings. They entered the conference chamber where the full council waited. 7 species, 7 leaders, all watching the humans with a mixture of curiosity and lingering fear. Harris looked at each of them in turn, his expression calm and open. When he spoke, his voice carried through the chamber with quiet authority. "I know our arrival frightened you," Harris began. "I know Titan's reach appears threatening. I want to address that directly. Yes, our ship is powerful. Yes, we carry weapons capable of tremendous destruction. But we did not come here to conquer or threaten. We came because humanity has been alone for too long. We came hoping to find others like ourselves. We came seeking friends." He paused, letting his words settle. "I understand you have questions about us, about why we built such weapons, about what kind of species would create something like Titan's reach. I promise to answer all your questions honestly, but first I want to ask something of you." "What do you want?" Tharn asked, his tone cautious. Harris met the Korgothi warrior's eyes steadily. "Tell us what you fear most. Tell us about your enemies. Let us understand the challenges you face, because if we are to be allies, we need to know what threatens our friends." Captain Harris sat at the large circular table in the council chamber, listening carefully as Ambassador Kelthera explained the political situation. Lieutenant Commander Morgan sat beside him, taking notes on a portable datapad. Dr. Carter was recording everything for later cultural analysis. "The Droken hegemony controls 73 star systems beyond our border," Kelthera said, projecting a holographic map of the region. "They are an expansionist empire, ruled by a military dictatorship. For the past 20 years, they have been sending probe ships into our space, testing our defenses, learning our patrol patterns." Council member Tharn leaned forward. 3 months ago, they attacked one of our outpost stations. They destroyed it completely and retreated before our fleet could respond. 1,200 people died. We could not pursue them across the border without starting a full war. Harris studied the map carefully. The Droken territory was massive, easily 3 times the size of Council space. Their fleet strength estimates showed over 500 warships, though the data was incomplete. "You are outnumbered," Harris observed. "Significantly," Myra confirmed. "Our combined fleet numbers 200 vessels. But our ships are designed for patrol and defense, not large-scale warfare. The Droken have been building their military for decades. If they launch a full invasion, we estimate we could hold them for perhaps 2 weeks before our defenses collapse." Morgan looked up from her notes. "You have 200 ships and you cannot defend yourselves? That seems unlikely." "Our weapons are not as advanced as yours," Tharn admitted, and Harris could hear the frustration in his voice. "We have maintained peace for 3,000 years. We did not see the need for weapons of war." The Droken learned from different history lessons. Harris understood completely. The Galactic Council had been lucky. They had enjoyed peace for so long that they forgot how to fight. Humanity never had that luxury. After Proxima Centauri, humans learned that peace was something you protected with strength, not something you simply hoped would continue. "What is stopping the Droken from attacking now?" Harris asked. "Uncertainty," Kelthera replied. "They do not know our full capabilities. They assume we have hidden defenses, secret weapons they have not seen. As long as they believe attacking might be costly, they hesitate. But that uncertainty will not last forever. Eventually, they will decide the risk is acceptable." Dr. Carter spoke up for the first time. "Have you attempted diplomatic contact with the Droken?" "Many times," Kelthera said sadly. "They do not negotiate. They demand submission or threaten violence. Their culture values conquest above all else. They see peaceful species as weak and deserving of domination." Harris felt a cold anger settling in his chest. He had fought against raiders who thought the same way. People who believed that might made right, that the strong should take whatever they wanted from the weak. The Proxima colony had fallen to that kind of thinking. "Captain Harris," Tharn said, drawing his attention, "I will speak plainly. Your ship alone could defeat the entire Droken fleet. You have the power to change the balance of this conflict completely. We are not asking you to fight our war for us, but if you were to position Titan's reach at our border, the Droken would think twice before attacking. Your presence would be enough to ensure peace." "You want us to be a deterrent," Morgan said. Yes, Kelthera confirmed. And in exchange, we offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Council. Access to our trade networks, our scientific databases, our cultural knowledge. We have 3,000 years of peaceful cooperation to share with you. Technology, medicine, art, philosophy. Everything we have learned about building a civilization based on cooperation rather than conflict. Harris sat back in his chair, considering the offer. It was tempting. Humanity had come seeking exactly this kind of opportunity. Access to galactic civilization, trade, knowledge, and friendship. But accepting meant taking on the Council's enemies as their own. It meant putting Titan's reach between the Council and the Droken hegemony. I need to consult with my crew, Harris said finally. This is not a decision I can make alone. Give me 6 hours. Of course, Kelthera said. We understand this is a significant commitment. Back aboard Titan's reach, Harris called a senior staff meeting. Commander Phillips, Lieutenant Commander Morgan, Dr. Carter, Chief Engineer Alex Walker, and Medical Officer Dr. Patricia Green gathered in the conference room. Harris explained the situation and the Council's offer. Then he asked for opinions. Phillips spoke first. From a tactical standpoint, it makes sense. We are already the most powerful ship in the region. Positioning ourselves at the border costs us nothing militarily. And if the Drokan are as aggressive as the Council claims, we would be helping to prevent a war. But we would also be committing to defend the Council if the Drokan attack, Morgan pointed out. That means we could end up fighting a war against an empire we know nothing about. We came here hoping to find friends, Dr. Carter said quietly. The Council is offering exactly that. Yes, there are risks, but they were honest about their situation. They did not hide their weakness or their enemies. That kind of transparency suggests they are trustworthy. Chief Engineer Walker leaned forward. I have been analyzing the Council's technology from the data they shared. Their power systems are elegant and efficient. Their faster-than-light drives are more fuel-efficient than ours. Their medical technology is remarkable. If we gain access to their knowledge base, we could advance human technology by decades. Dr. Green nodded in agreement. Their medical databases alone would be worth the alliance. They have treatments for diseases we still struggle with, and with 7 different species contributing knowledge, the potential for breakthrough discoveries is enormous. Harris listened to each opinion carefully. Finally, he looked around the table. Personal opinions aside, what would Earth want us to do? Morgan answered without hesitation. Earth sent us to make friends and establish humanity's place in the galaxy. The Council is offering us exactly that. Command would approve, even if it means potential conflict with the Droken, Harris pressed. Earth did not build Titan's reach to sit in orbit looking impressive, Phillips said. We built it to protect humanity and humanity's interests. If the Council becomes humanity's ally, then protecting them serves Earth's goals. Harris stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see Council ships maintaining their cautious perimeter. They were still afraid of Titan's reach, but they were willing to trust humanity anyway. That took courage. We accept their offer, Harris decided, but on one condition. We want to meet with the Droken leadership first. Give them one chance to choose peace. If they refuse, then we position ourselves at the border and make it clear that attacking the Council means fighting humanity. 6 hours later, Harris stood before the Galactic Council with his proposal. Kelthara listened carefully, then smiled. You wish to give them a warning first, she said. That is very human of you. You prepare for war but hope for peace. It is only fair, Harris replied. The Droken do not know about humanity. If they understand what they would be facing, they might reconsider their aggressive posture. I want to give them that choice. Tharn looked skeptical. The Droken do not respond to warnings. They see them as signs of weakness. Then they will learn an important lesson about humans, Harris said firmly. We do not bluff. When we give a warning, we mean it. And when we make a promise, we keep it. The Council voted unanimously to accept humanity's terms. A message was sent to the Drokan hegemony, requesting a diplomatic meeting. The message was simple and direct. The Galactic Council had formed an alliance with humanity, a species possessing superior military technology. The Droken were invited to discuss peaceful coexistence. Any future attacks on Council space would be considered acts of war against humanity. The Droken response came 2 days later. It was arrogant and dismissive. They did not believe humanity's claims of military superiority. They accused the Council of fabricating a fictional ally to frighten them. They demanded proof of humanity's capabilities, and they announced that a Droken fleet of 200 warships would cross into Council space in 1 month to demonstrate their power and resolve. Harris read the message and felt a weary resignation. The Droken had made their choice. They had been given a chance for peace and rejected it. Now they would learn what humanity had learned at Proxima Centauri. Sometimes the universe demanded strength, not words. Commander Phillips, Harris said quietly, begin preparing combat scenarios. It appears the Droken need a demonstration after all. 3 months had passed since humanity's warning to the Droken hegemony. 3 months of preparation, training, and positioning. Titan's Reach now stood at the border between Council space and Droken territory, accompanied by a small escort fleet of 12 Council vessels. It was a symbolic gesture. Everyone knew the Council ships were there for observation, not combat. Captain Harris stood on his command bridge watching the sensor displays. The Droken fleet had entered scanner range 10 minutes ago. 200 warships arranged in an aggressive attack formation. They were making no attempt at subtlety or caution. This was meant to be a show of overwhelming force. Final count confirms 200 Droken vessels, Commander Phillips reported from the tactical station. Mix of cruisers, destroyers, and battleships. Their flagship is a Dreadnought-class vessel, 3 kilometers long. Heavy armor, multiple weapon batteries. They are charging their weapons. Fleet-wide scan complete, Lieutenant Commander Morgan added. Their shield technology is similar to the Council's. Plasma weapons, missile systems, and what appears to be some kind of energy beam. No quantum weapons detected. Their faster-than-light drives are active, probably as a precaution in case they need to retreat. Harris absorbed the information calmly. 3 months of intelligence gathering had given them detailed knowledge of Droken capabilities. Their weapons were powerful but conventional. Their shields were strong but not as advanced as humanity's. Their tactics favored overwhelming numerical superiority and aggressive frontal assaults. Incoming. Transmission, the communications officer announced. It is from the Droken flagship. Put it through, Harris ordered. The view screen activated, showing a Droken commander. The alien was reptilian in appearance with dark green scales and cold yellow eyes. His uniform was covered in military decorations, and his bearing radiated arrogance. I am Admiral Krevoth of the Droken hegemony, the alien declared. You are the human vessel that claims to possess superior military power. Your alliance with the Council is meaningless. We have brought 200 warships to demonstrate the futility of resistance. You will withdraw immediately, or we will destroy you along with the Council fleet. Harris stepped forward to address the Admiral directly. I am Captain Daniel Harris of the human vessel Titan's Reach. 3 months ago, we sent you a message requesting peaceful dialogue. You rejected that offer. You demanded proof of our capabilities. You threatened war. Now you have crossed into Council space with a hostile fleet. This is your final warning. Turn back now or face the consequences. Krevoth laughed, a harsh grating sound. 1 ship against 200. You are either insane or remarkably stupid. We have studied your vessel. It is large, yes, but size means nothing against superior numbers. We will tear your ship apart and scatter the debris across Council space as a lesson to those who defy the Droken hegemony. You were given a chance for peace, Harris said quietly. Remember that. He closed the communication channel and turned to Phillips. Commander, power up all weapon systems. Full combat status. Authorization Harris Alpha 79. Powering up all systems, Phillips confirmed. Throughout Titan's Reach, fusion reactors surged to maximum output. Railgun batteries charged. Torpedo tubes loaded. Plasma lances initialized. Quantum disruption emitters hummed with contained energy. The power surge was visible on every sensor screen in both fleets. Energy readings from Titan's Reach climbed higher and higher, surpassing anything the Droken had ever encountered. Aboard the Droken flagship, Admiral Krevoth stared at the readings in disbelief. This cannot be accurate. No single ship can generate this much power. His sensor officer checked the data 3 times. Admiral, the readings are correct. The human ship is generating more energy than our entire fleet combined. Their shield strength has increased by a factor of 10. I am detecting weapon systems I do not recognize. It is a trick, Krevoth insisted. Some kind of sensor deception. All ships begin attack formation. Target the human vessel. Fire on my command. The Droken fleet moved forward. Weapons locked on Titan's Reach. 200 warships against 1. The mathematics seemed impossible to overcome. Harris watched the Droken fleet approach with calm determination. Commander Morgan, transmit final warning on all frequencies. Any ship that powers down weapons and withdraws will not be fired upon. This is their last chance. Morgan sent the message. For 30 seconds, nothing changed. Then 5 Drokan vessels at the rear of the formation powered down their weapons and began retreating. They were younger captains, Harris guessed. People smart enough to recognize when the odds were truly hopeless. 195 ships remaining, Phillips reported. They are entering weapons range. Fire at will, Commander, Harris ordered. Disable, do not destroy. Target engines and weapon systems. I want survivors who can tell the Droken what happened here. Phillips nodded grimly. Understood, sir. Engaging. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Titan's Reach moved with impossible grace for something so massive. Railgun batteries fired in perfect synchronization, launching solid projectiles at 70% the speed of light. The projectiles punched through Drokan shields like they were not there, striking engines with surgical precision. Ships that were advancing one moment found themselves drifting helplessly the next, their propulsion systems reduced to scrap metal. Fusion torpedoes launched in spreading patterns, each one tracking multiple targets simultaneously. They detonated against shield generators, collapsing defensive fields and leaving ships vulnerable. The Drokan returned fire desperately, but their weapons splashed harmlessly against Titan's Reach's shields. The neutronium armor did not even register the impacts. Plasma lances swept through the Drokan formation like burning swords, cutting weapon batteries from ship hulls without breaching their main structures. The precision was remarkable. Every shot calculated to disable rather than destroy. When the Drokan flagship tried to retreat, Harris gave a specific order. Commander, use the quantum disruptors on their dreadnought. Shut down their faster-than-light drive. A pulse of quantum energy washed over the Drokan flagship. Its power core flickered and died. The ship went dark, floating helplessly in space. Admiral Krivoth's grand vessel reduced to an inert metal shell. The remaining Drokan ships broke formation and fled. Those with working faster-than-light drives jumped away immediately. Those without retreated at sublight speeds, desperately signaling surrender. Harris watched them go. Ceasefire. Deploy rescue beacons for damaged ships. Transmit medical assistance offers to all Drokan vessels. Sir, Morgan said carefully, we just defeated 200 warships in 11 minutes without taking any damage. Should we pursue? No, Harris said firmly. We made our point. The Drokan know now what they are facing. Let them take that knowledge home. He opened a communication channel to the fleeing Drokan fleet. This is Captain Harris. Your attack on Council Space has failed. 43 of your vessels are disabled but intact. Your crews are alive. We could have destroyed you completely, but we chose mercy. Remember that when you report to your leaders. Humanity and the Galactic Council are now allied. Any future attacks will be met with the same response. Choose peace. Choose survival. Aboard one of the retreating Drokan ships, a young communications officer recorded everything. The massive human warship had defeated their entire fleet alone. It had done so without destroying a single ship, showing restraint even in victory. This was not the behavior of monsters or conquerors. This was the action of warriors who understood the value of life. The footage would reach the Drokan homeworld within a week. It would change everything. 2 days later, Ambassador Kelthera stood beside Captain Harris on the observation deck of Celestial Harmony. Together they watched as Titan's Reach maintained its position at the border, a silent guardian standing watch. You have given us something we thought we had lost, Kelthera said softly. Hope, security, the knowledge that we are not alone against the darkness. Humanity knows what it is like to feel helpless, Harris replied. After Proxima Centauri, we built Titan's Reach to ensure we would never feel that way again. Now we can use that strength to protect others. That gives the ship purpose beyond fear. The Drokan will not attack again, Kelthera said with certainty. They have learned the cost of aggression, and other hostile species in this region will learn the same lesson. You have changed the balance of power completely. Harris nodded slowly. That was always the hope. Not to conquer or dominate, but to create a space where peace was possible, because war was too costly. You sound tired, Kelthera observed. I am, Harris admitted. I have spent 20 years preparing for battles. It is strange to finally fight one and hope it is the last. Perhaps it will be, Kelthara said. The galaxy knows about humanity now. They know about your strength and your restraint. That combination is rare and valuable. You may find that your reputation becomes its own defense. Below them, council ships moved in organized patterns around Titan's reach. They were no longer afraid. They saw the Titan warship as a protector now, not a threat. That shift in perception meant everything. Commander Morgan approached with a data pad. Captain, we are receiving diplomatic requests from 17 different species. They all want to establish contact with humanity. Word of the battle has spread.